Okay, I have some leftover 3/4 inch plywood, exterior grade plywood, that I'm going to use to make a rock climbing wall today. So if you don't want to use exterior grade plywood, you could also just use pressure treated lumber. I'm going to cut this into 5-inch wide strips. I am using this board clamped to the top, 6.5 inches from the edge, as a guide for my circular saw. So the distance from the edge of this to my blade is 1.5 inches. So to get 5-inch long strips, I set this board to 6.5 inches. Let me show you how that works. Okay, so this rock climbing wall on the Playhouse is going to have this angle, I've decided. So I'm just leaning up against the platform, the raised platform and the raised deck area here. And I used a straight edge. I held a straight edge up against the face of this support band around here. And I drew a straight line straight up for how I'm going to cut this angle, or where to cut this angle. Okay, so I have cut the second board to work as the other side of the support for this climbing wall. And as you can see, I'm still a little high. I want it really to be even with the top of the deck board. So over here. I haven't put the last deck board on right here yet, but even with the top of the deck board or a little bit lower so that it's not sticking up, I could always cut this off right here to make it nice and straight and flush and look really cool and look really good. Or I could take some off the bottom, of course. The board over here is just to show you that this is a really easy way to get your angle without having to do any calculations or whip out what are the triangle calculators on a website somewhere. So I could just draw a line across the top of this board if that was the right height that I wanted to remove, and get my angle, and then just go to my miter saw, line up the blade, and cut it perfectly. In this case, I only need to remove, it looks like, maybe 1 inch. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm actually just going to dig down into the ground a little bit and let this sit recessed into the ground just a little bit. Because also the ground's going to be probably different heights or different levels from one side of the structure to the other. So this just gives a little wiggle room in that, so that I don't have to worry about accidentally cutting one side shorter than the other. Also, I want to point out that this is pressure treated lumber, but I'm going to protect it from water on the ground by painting, or putting the paint on the end of that board. So the ends of these boards are going to get a couple coats of paint. And there goes my donkeys, in case you're wondering. A couple coats of paint to protect it from the groundwater too. That'll just give it extra durability and make it last years longer than it would have. Okay guys, I have the frame for the climbing wall finished now. So I ended up using 3 2x4s to support the boards. And I've got those 3 2x4s attached to this raised deck with 2x4s in the middle. I'm using 4-inch deck screws, exterior deck screws, to connect it to that raised deck, and then to connect the climbing wall frame to the sides of those boards too. So everything is really sturdy and secure. In case I didn't mention it already, I am using exterior plywood that I had left over already, so I wanted to use it. It did make the build harder. It would have been so much easier to just use exterior 2x4s for this frame, and they would have been sturdier. So the exterior plywood, I had to, on the latter part, brace it on the back with another piece. So that's glued and screwed on, just so you know. And I'm going to put climbing rocks on the left hand side. So the left-hand side is going to be the climbing wall. The right-hand side is a ladder that grown-ups or kids can use to get up easily. And I'm going to be painting this and adding a board at the top to hide those 2x4s, but I just wanted to leave it off to show you. But I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done painting it. Okay guys, I said I'd come back and show you the paint job and the rocks, the climbing rocks on this little climbing wall, and we are loving it. For the last week I've been using that ladder on the right hand side as my way of getting up onto the deck to do more work, and it works great. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Thanks for checking out this video guys, and have fun with your build.